a monster emerges, Hurricane Helene in the Gulf. The 2024 hurricane season had been relatively quiet, with only a few minor storms. Then Hurricane Helene formed in the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico, catching everyone by surprise. It rapidly intensified, growing into a monstrous Category 4 hurricane with winds exceeding 130 miles per hour. Meteorologists watched nervously as Helene churned towards the Gulf Coast of Florida, tracking its every move. Its path aimed directly at the sparsely populated but ecologically sensitive Big Bend region, home to diverse wildlife. Millions braced for impact, fearing the worst was yet to come as they prepared for the storm's arrival. Emergency services mobilized and communities came together, hoping to weather the storm. Landfall Helene's wrath unleashed on Florida's Big Bend. On September 27, 2024, Hurricane Helene made landfall near the town of Steinhatchee, Florida. The storm surge, exceeding 12 feet in some areas, swallowed entire coastal communities. Winds exceeding 130 miles per hour ripped apart homes and businesses. The once familiar landscape was now unrecognizable, transformed into a scene of utter devastation. Emergency response teams worked tirelessly, rescuing stranded residents and providing aid to the affected areas. Helene's trail of destruction, a multi-state crisis. Though weaker, Helene continued its destructive path across the southeastern United States. Heavy rains, some areas receiving over 20 inches, caused widespread flooding in Georgia and the Carolinas. Rivers and creeks overflowed, inundating homes and businesses. Thousands were displaced, forced to seek refuge in shelters. The storm's impact was felt far and wide, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. Emergency response teams worked tirelessly, providing aid and conducting rescue operations. Section 4. Darkness and Deluge, the aftermath of Helene. In the aftermath of Helene, the true scale of the disaster became horrifyingly clear. Over 2 million people were without power, plunging communities into darkness. The lack of electricity crippled communication networks and hampered rescue efforts. Hospitals struggled to function, relying on backup generators. The stagnant floodwaters bred disease and hampered access to clean water and sanitation, adding to the already dire situation. Amidst the chaos, volunteers and aid organizations worked tirelessly to provide relief and support to the affected communities. Section 5, the long road to recovery, federal aid and the climate change question. President Biden declared a major disaster for Florida, Georgia and the Carolinas, paving the way for federal aid to flow into the affected regions. FEMA mobilized resources, deploying teams to assist with search and rescue operations, provide emergency shelter, and ensure the safety of the residents. They worked tirelessly to distribute food, water, and other essential supplies to those in need. As the initial shock subsided and communities began to rebuild, the long road to recovery began. Questions arose about the role of climate change in intensifying Hurricane Helene, sparking widespread discussions. Scientists pointed to the warming ocean temperatures as fuel for more powerful and destructive storms, highlighting the urgent need for climate action. The debate over climate change and its impact on extreme weather events was reignited with renewed urgency, calling for immediate and sustained efforts to address the crisis. Communities, scientists, and leaders alike are now more determined than ever to tackle the challenges posed by climate change and ensure a resilient future. Section 6, Helene's place in history, a stark warning for the future. Hurricane Helene will be remembered as one of the most destructive storms in recent history, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. The storm's impact, both in terms of human life and economic cost, was significant, affecting thousands of families and businesses. Early estimates place the total damages at over $20 billion, a staggering figure that underscores the storm's severity. As communities begin the long and arduous task of rebuilding, they face numerous challenges and uncertainties. The memory of Hurricane Helene will serve as a stark reminder of the destructive power of nature and the urgent need to address the growing threat of climate change, which is making such storms more frequent and intense. The lessons learned from Helene will hopefully lead to better preparedness and mitigation strategies to protect vulnerable communities from the wrath of future storms, ensuring that we are better equipped to handle such natural disasters. By taking proactive measures now, we can reduce the impact of future hurricanes and safeguard our communities for generations to come.